Saint Lucy was born in Syracuse, Sicily, to two noble and wealthy parents, in the year 283. Much of Saint Lucy's history has been lost through the centuries. However, in an attempt to keep her story alive, many legends have survived the test of time. Saint Lucy's father, who was of Roman origin, died while she was at an early age, leaving her mother and herself alone. This was a time when Christianity was considered illegal. Penalty for celebrating the religion included death. Therefore, throughout the years, Saint Lucy helped the poor and fellow Catholics who had gone into hiding in the catacombs of Syracuse. Practicing their faith in secret and underground, she brought essentials to the refugees. It is said she wore a wreath of candles on her head in order to keep her hands free and light her way. Eventually, Saint Lucy's mother engaged her with a pagan man. However, Saint Lucy, who loved God very much, had consecrated her life to him. She made a vow of virginity. In other words, she chose not to marry and live a life dedicated to Jesus, much like a nun. In her day and age, to be virgin up until marriage was an ancient Roman ideal, rarely followed. Excluding marriage altogether was unheard of. Knowing the lives of earlier virgin martyrs, she remained faithful to her promise. Saint Lucy managed to postpone the marriage for a few years, but was still unable to convince her mother. Saint Lucy began to pray to Saint Agatha, asking for her intercession to help convince her mother. As a result, Saint Lucy's mother was cured from her long hemorrhagic illness. Finally, her mother agreed to let Saint Lucy live a consecrated life to Jesus, and they donated her dowry to the poor. Unfortunately, the rejected bridegroom became very angered and betrayed Saint Lucy, denouncing her faith to the governor of the region. Forming a public spectacle, the governor placed Saint Lucy on trial. In response, the governor decided to force Saint Lucy into prostitution. When the time came for the guards to remove her, they were unable to. No matter their strength or number, Saint Lucy would not be moved, even when she was tied to a team of oxen. Then the governor ordered for her to be burned. The guards proceeded to surround her with wood, but she simply would not burn. Next, they tore her eyes out. All the while, she prophesied against her persecutors. Finally, she was killed by a fatal wound to her throat by a knife. Saint Lucy died in the year 304, at age 21. When her body was being prepared for burial, it was discovered that her eyes had been restored. Saint Lucy is celebrated on December 13th, her feast day. She is the patron saint of eyes and all that have to do with them, including blindness. Saint Lucy's name means light. Thus, she is associated with helping to bring light to those not only who are physically blind, but also to those who live in spiritual darkness. Thus, she serves as a guide for Christians to look up to, in order to love their neighbor and to be a light in whatever darkness they may be feeling. She is an example in serving others and how to use time, talents, and treasure to carry the light of Christ to others. In 1582, Syracuse was suffering from a harsh famine, and the people were praying to Saint Lucy for her intercession, so that God would provide relief. On the feast day of Saint Lucy, ships were blown off their course and appeared into Syracuse's harbor. These ships were loaded with wheat, feeding the starving people. Similarly, a famine hit southern Sweden, and around the time of Saint Lucy's feast day, the people saw a young lady on the prow of the boat, sailing across Lake Vänern This lady was dressed in white and glowing in an unearthly light. When the boat arrived to shore, the lady, who was St. Lucy, handed sacks of wheat to the people, feeding them. For these such reasons and others, St. Lucy is one of the most important saints of the Catholic Church.